The Himalayas, towering, majestic, formidable. They stand as a testament to nature's raw power, but these mountains, a source of awe and wonder, are also a breeding ground for conflict. For India and China, two rising giants, the Himalayas represent not just a shared border, but a crucible of geopolitical tension. The unforgiving terrain, characterized by treacherous peaks and narrow valleys, makes the border region incredibly difficult to demarcate and control. This geographical reality, coupled with historical grievances and competing territorial claims, has created a volatile mix. The potential for miscalculation and escalation is ever present. This is a story of two nations, their intertwined destinies, and the looming shadow of conflict cast by the Himalayas themselves. The seeds of discord between India and China were sown long ago, during a time when both nations were under the yoke of colonial powers. The British Empire in particular played a significant role in shaping the future tensions between these two great civilizations. The legacy of colonialism, with its arbitrary borders and divide-and-rule tactics, left a tangled mess for these newly independent nations to unravel. The British, in their quest to maintain control, drew lines on maps with little regard for the ethnic, cultural, and historical realities on the ground. The border, ill-defined and hotly contested, became a flashpoint. The rugged and inhospitable terrain of the Himalayas only added to the complexity, making it difficult for either side to establish a clear and mutually agreed-upon boundary. The 1962 war, a brief but bloody conflict, left deep scars on both sides. This war was not just a military confrontation but a clash of national pride and identity. The memories of the conflict still linger in the collective consciousness of both nations. India, caught off guard and outmaneuvered, suffered a humiliating defeat. The loss was a blow to India's self-esteem and its perception of its own military capabilities. It led to a period of introspection and a re-evaluation of its defense strategies. China, victorious but wary of international condemnation, withdrew from some captured territory. Despite their military success, the Chinese leadership was cautious about the potential backlash from the global community and the long-term implications of holding on to disputed lands. Yet the war solidified mistrust and cemented competing narratives of victimhood and aggression. In India, the narrative was one of betrayal and unprovoked aggression by China. In China, the story was one of defending its rightful territory against an encroaching neighbor. The echoes of this conflict reverberate even today. The border remains a contentious issue with frequent standoffs and skirmishes between the two armies. Each incident adds another layer to the already deep-seated mistrust. They fuel the arms race, the military buildup, and the pervasive sense of suspicion that hangs heavy over the Himalayas. Both nations continue to invest heavily in their military presence in the region, preparing for the possibility of another conflict, even as they engage in diplomatic efforts to resolve their differences. At the heart of the India-China border dispute lie two strategically important regions, Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh. Aksai Chin, a high-altitude desert, is claimed by India but controlled by China. It holds immense strategic value for China, providing a vital link to its restive Xinjiang province. Arunachal Pradesh, a mountainous region rich in biodiversity, is claimed by China as South Tibet. India, which controls this territory, considers it an integral part of its northeast region. The presence of the Brahmaputra River, a lifeline for millions, further elevates the stakes. These territorial disputes, fueled by historical claims and strategic considerations, represent seemingly intractable challenges. They are the tinder to which any spark could ignite a wider conflagration. Adding to the complexity is the line of actual control, a demarcation line that remains undefined and disputed. This line, known as the LAC, stretches across the rugged and inhospitable terrain of the Himalayas, where the harsh environment adds another layer of difficulty to an already tense situation. The LAC is not a clearly marked boundary but rather a conceptual line that both India and China interpret differently, leading to frequent misunderstandings and confrontations. This ambiguous boundary, often running along treacherous mountain ridges and glacial valleys, is more a recipe for conflict than a guarantor of peace. The terrain itself is a formidable adversary, with its steep cliffs, deep valleys, and unpredictable weather conditions. These natural barriers make patrolling and maintaining a presence in the region extremely challenging for both sides. The soldiers stationed here must endure extreme cold, high altitudes, and the constant threat of avalanches, all while remaining vigilant for any signs of movement from the other side. The lack of clarity over the LAC's precise location has led to numerous face-offs, incursions, and standoffs between Indian and Chinese troops. These encounters are often tense and can escalate quickly, as both sides are heavily armed and on high alert. The soldiers on the ground are tasked with defending their nation's territorial claims, and any perceived encroachment by the other side is met with immediate and forceful resistance. These standoffs can last for hours, days, or even weeks, with both sides refusing to back down. Both sides patrol the region with increasing frequency, heightening the risk of accidental clashes. These patrols are a show of strength and a means of asserting control over the disputed territory. However, the close proximity of the patrols from both sides increases the likelihood of unintended encounters, which can quickly escalate into violent confrontations. The soldiers must navigate the treacherous terrain while remaining constantly aware of the presence of the opposing forces, creating a highly stressful and dangerous environment. The potential for a minor incident to spiral into a major confrontation is a constant threat. A simple misunderstanding or a miscalculation can lead to a rapid escalation of hostilities, with potentially devastating consequences. The high stakes and the volatile nature of the situation mean that both sides must exercise extreme caution and restraint. Diplomatic efforts are often required to de-escalate tensions and prevent conflicts from spiraling out of control. The LAC, meant to be a line of separation, has ironically become a line of contention, a volatile frontier where the slightest misstep could have devastating consequences. The ongoing disputes and the frequent confrontations along the LAC highlight the need for a clear and mutually agreed-upon boundary. Until such an agreement is reached, the region will remain a flashpoint for potential conflict, with the lives of the soldiers and the stability of the region hanging in the balance. The fragility of peace in the Himalayas was brutally exposed in June 2020. The serene and majestic landscape of the Himalayas, often seen as a symbol of tranquility, became the backdrop for a violent confrontation that would alter the course of history for the region. In the desolate Galwan Valley, a clash between Indian and Chinese soldiers resulted in the first fatalities along the LAC in decades. This remote and rugged terrain, which had seen its share of skirmishes and standoffs, now bore witness to a deadly encounter that claimed the lives of 20 Indian soldiers and an undisclosed number of Chinese troops. The incident sent shockwaves through both nations and the international community. News of the clash dominated headlines, sparking outrage and grief among the citizens of both countries. The images of mourning families and nationalistic fervor highlighted the deep-seated emotions and the complex history that underpinned the conflict. The Galwan clash was a stark reminder of the ever-present potential for conflict. The history of border tensions between India and China is long and fraught with episodes of hostility and uneasy truces. The Himalayas, with their treacherous terrain and strategic significance, have been a flashpoint for decades. It shattered the illusion of stability and ushered in a new era of heightened tensions. Diplomatic efforts to maintain peace were put to the test, as both nations grappled with the fallout of the clash. The fragile agreements and understandings that had been painstakingly built over the years seemed to crumble overnight. Both sides have since reinforced their military presence along the LAC, deploying advanced weaponry and engaging in war games that further fuel mistrust. The buildup of troops and the display of military might have only served to deepen the divide, making the prospect of a peaceful resolution seem ever more distant. The scars of Galwan run deep. The memories of the fallen soldiers and the pain of their families are a constant reminder of the human cost of such conflicts. Memorials and tributes to the brave souls who lost their lives stand as somber testaments to the tragedy that unfolded. They serve as a chilling reminder that dialogue and diplomacy must take precedence if a repeat of such bloodshed is to be avoided. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, but it is a path that must be pursued with unwavering determination. The future of the region depends on the ability of both nations to find common ground and to prioritize the well-being of their people over territorial ambitions. The India-China border dispute cannot be viewed in isolation. It is inextricably intertwined with the broader geopolitical landscape, a landscape increasingly defined by the rise of China and India's own ambitions for regional leadership. China's economic and military might continues to grow, emboldening its actions in its neighborhood and beyond. India, determined to safeguard its interests and emerge as a counterweight to Chinese influence, is bolstering its own capabilities. This dynamic creates a complex web of competition and mistrust. The border dispute, therefore, becomes a dangerous microcosm of this larger geopolitical rivalry. Each side views the other's actions through the prism of suspicion, interpreting even routine military exercises as potential provocations.